Sagittarius, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for May 30th through June 5th, 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link because the signs are different. All right, so Sagittarius, this week we have a new moon Saturday and Sunday, so over the weekend, and it is going to be forming a grand cross in the sky. So this is the weekly energy, basically. As we approach that new moon, we are going to have all of the aspects with that grand cross. So first of all, grand crosses are all about constructively working on our energies, working on things, involving these 4 different areas, which I'll talk more about in just a minute. But it's through approaching things with a willingness to challenge ourselves, right? Or at least when we are willing to challenge ourselves, that's when it does become very constructive. That's when these foundations that we build really turn into something real and long lasting. In fact, the things that are really true and real in our life are built during periods like this. So this is what it's looking like, and I'll show you exactly how to work with it, or my take on how to work with this energy, so you can build these solid foundations, which is then propelling you into these new beginnings. So that's a new beginning involving your 6th house of your daily activities. For some of you, it might be your work. For others, it might be your health and your routines. So it just depends on wherever you've already been focused, I feel like, right? Because your sun's already been in the 6th house. So new beginnings with this area. And this is also the house of, personal development as well. So with that focus, with this new beginning, these are some key areas to cultivate and to challenge ourselves with and to work towards. But I feel like approaching that, we are going to be in a bit of a more receptive state, right? Because we're in the balsamic phase before we get to the new beginning. So this is the lowering of energies this week as we approach the weekend. Really listening, doing what I think is going to be more of a spiritually developmental way of working with this, right? And then through that spiritual development, it serves the foundation for the new beginnings, which we'll see more in the external environment in these coming weeks. So this is going to all start Monday and Tuesday with Mercury trining up to Pluto. And this is actually, Mercury's been very well placed, now trining up to Pluto. From your 5th house is, I think you guys have been learning a lot about your self-expression. And maybe for some of you, your interests or your hobbies. But anything that's close to the heart, or anything that you're passionate about in life, or just simply expressing yourself. So it's a very good couple days for that. Can be very deep, can be very profound with Pluto in the 1st house, trining up to the 5th like that. And very supportive for anything involving fun, playfulness, creativity, and self-expression these 2 days. Now, the first aspect of this new moon is going to be here on Wednesday and Thursday, which is the sun squaring up to Neptune side of it. So this side of the Grand Cross is Neptune in your 3rd house. All right, this has been over many years, this importance of letting go and having more faith and trust in your life regarding your communication, regarding your mind, and regarding anything basically in your immediate environment. So on the mind level, which is, I think, a really fundamental way of looking at this 3rd house, is that it's having more presence with the mind, not having to have everything understood or figured out. And it's through letting go of the concepts, of the understandings, of the constructs of the mind, and that's where the true peace and spiritual liberation is being derived. And this is especially the case because the South node's here as well. And so, this is a big area of development, spiritual development for you guys, involving where you can do that releasing work, right? And at the end of the day, it's about acceptance with Neptune. What we can accept, accepting the mind. It's not about pushing these things away. It's about being aware of the mind, observing the thoughts, right? And in that way, it creates that peace because then we're living presently and the thoughts can arise and there's that flow. So anyways, that's the big picture. So I think anything involving mind, communications, anything in your immediate environment, having that more present approach to it, I think will be key, particularly this week. Now, the other side of it is with these new beginnings relating to your work or with your routines, there's that too, right? Having that acceptance, having faith and trust, knowing that new things are unfolding, but it may not be exactly how we thought they were or how the mind might think that it is. And it's through that acceptance of the divine process of possibilities larger than what the mind can conceive of, it's creating peace there as well. So that's that constructive side of it. Thursday and Friday, the sun is going to oppose up to Saturn in your 12th. And this is also spiritual in the sense that this is the house of spirituality. This is where Saturn, for about the past year, off and on, has been helping you guys get really disciplined with your spiritual self. And this could be maybe with your alone time for some of you. Some of you diving deep within the psyche to examine things like fears and anxieties and working on that stuff. And I think it's just so good to have that constructive approach to this, whether it's working on meditation, working on yoga, anything that really requires the discipline to be present, to accept. And that's where the peace is being derived, is through that acceptance. So that's Saturn, but we don't want to get too caught up into just the isolation or just on the spiritual life for the alone time, because then things will get too dense with that Saturn energy. Right? That's the opposition. We don't want to go to just one extreme. And likewise, we don't want to just go into the work and the daily stuff without getting that alone time and that rest and relaxation and meditative time. So it's a healthy balance of both, and really bringing one into the other. Like spirituality really does take the routine and the work and the personal development there to do that, to have peace there. And vice versa. We do have to have peace in our daily activities for us to really be productive and to get things done. All right, so that's the balancing point. I think that'll be very important with this new moon. Venus is going to be squaring up to Neptune Thursday and Friday as well. So same thing, involving the acceptance, right, in that area. And I think also acceptance too in terms of your aspirations, because Venus rules your 11th house also. In fact, this new moon conjoining up to Venus is suggesting new beginnings with your aspirations. For some of you, it might be with friends or your network circles. Anything group related could be possible. Maybe that's on the daily sphere or whatever. But here, just understanding that, of course, this is still the early phase of it. There's acceptance, and that's a good way of, through that acceptance, finding that peace and tranquility. Then Friday and Saturday, Venus opposes up to Saturn, again, balance and patience. And, not only with the work life and the daily life, but also with anything involving your aspirations, involving your network circles. And Friday and Saturday, that conjunction between the sun and Venus, who, by the way, with Venus getting so close to the sun, it's combust. So it's good to be moderate here. It's good to bring extra attention to having balance in the work life, in the aspirations with the network circles or whatever. And that creates, more conscious attention there, because when these two come together, Venus is behind the sun, and the only thing that is the sun. Which means that there's just maybe passion, or there's just a lot of fiery energy, there's just a lot of prana life force, which could drown out the insight about these areas. So through that extra attention, being aware of that can help keep things nice and balanced in these areas. So anyways, that conjunction is going to be squaring up to your ruler Jupiter. And this is you in this whole thing. Your ruler is part of this whole Grand Cross. And this is your ruler up in the 9th house, which is about future possibilities. All right, this is what this whole year has been showing you, is these new opportunities to maybe tap into your adventurous side. Maybe to study things like philosophy or spirituality. Right? Anything that expands your horizons. And that could be, for some of you, travel as well. So whatever that is this week with the square, it's balanced with that too. And sometimes we may just want it to come easy. We're just like, hey, we just want this, this adventurousness or this wisdom or whatever it is. We want more understanding about the life path. It's just we want it to be easy. But with the square, it's important that we constructively work on it. Have, especially with the square up to Saturn, that constructive approach to it. Saying that there are certainly possibilities along the life path, but they're taking time. This is the developmental phase of it, especially this week, because we're not quite at that new beginning just yet. It takes a couple of weeks for this energy to get moving. So anyways, that, and if you are feeling on the under extreme of Jupiter, the non-optimism or pessimism, remembering that there are definitely opportunities here in regards to future life path, future possibilities, and that adventurous spirit. So that's the new moon aspects in a nutshell, all leading towards that Saturday and Sunday new beginning. For a lot of you, your work. For others, it's going to be your routine, your health, your diet, new beginnings with your network circles, your aspirations, your hopes, your wishes. That's all 11th house stuff. All right. However that's manifesting. But this week, going within, realizing that the new beginnings are around the corner, And it's a good week of developing ourselves spiritually, particularly around those key areas. All right, so Sagittarius, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week.